Hello, hello. I'm not sure, but I think I might be having some problems here. Okay, no, that's all right. Capture. I'm just trying to see if there's anything I can do with the volume on this. And the reason why is because of my video that I'm going to have. But today is school safety. I just kind of ran into some information that people are concerned about now, psychologists and stuff. And, they start putting things up at school and have them have drills for in case somebody decides to come in to shoot them. Bring a gun or a weapon in, and being threatened by these guys, these school shooters and stuff. So now they're trying different methods of locking doors, metal detectors and this and that. And so they're kind of concerned. And then they're also even having like fire drills and earthquake drills and stuff like that. Well, now some school districts are applying active shooter drills. That's what I call it. But anyway, so I just thought I'd bring this up today. It's just a short little thing here. But I've been having trouble with my sound system, the recording part of it. So on my end, I can hear it. But when I did recording, played it back, the volumes, particularly for the video, it's really low. And I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah, well, anyways, I'm not a full endowed technician. I do know some and usually can work around these problems, but I just didn't have time today. So, anyways, let's listen to this. I hope it comes out good on your end. On my end, it sounds good.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that literally impacts every single community, and we're going to challenge the whole traditional hardware-focused view of keeping students safe, right? Because the research is telling us loud and clear that true safety, it needs a major evolution. We're talking about shifting our focus from just installing physical hardware to focusing on holistic feeling. So think about this for a second. When I ask you, what does a safe school actually look like? What's the first thing that pops into your head? Do you automatically picture, heavy locks on doors, high-def cameras, metal detectors at the front entrance? Or do you picture a vibrant community that's just built on deep trust and mutual support? For decades, policy has leaned heavily toward the hardware side, but the data, it's practically screaming that we desperately need the community side. We're kind of at a crossroads here. On one side, you've got physical hardening, the highly visible stuff, locks, cameras, detectors. And on the flip side, we have relational approaches. These are the invisible psychological elements, right? Trust, community, that true sense of belonging. And as we're going to see, banking on just one of these creates a really dangerous imbalance. Okay, let's get right into section 1, rethinking school safety. There's a completely direct connection between physical safety and a student's actual ability to learn. It goes back to frameworks like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Basically, physiological safety and psychological security are absolute prerequisites for cognitive development. It makes total sense when you think about it. When students are dealing with chronic stress, fear, alienation, their capacity for higher order learning is severely compromised.
I mean, you literally cannot have academic engagement if a student's brain is just stuck in survival mode.
Moving on to Section 2, Physical Security and Threat Assessments, the visible first layer.
Now, to be fair, research from the National Center for School Safety shows that interior door locks and properly placed security cameras can be incredibly effective. They delay threats, they keep people safe during an active event, they help first responders out, no doubt. But, and this is a big but, the data also explicitly warns that these measures require really careful consideration of the overall school climate before you just go installing them. Why is that? Well, here is the shocking reality. A massive survey of nearly 4,000 students showed that every single increase in visible physical security actually increased the odds of students feeling fearful by 23%. That's huge. Over-relying on this heavily fortified, visible security can completely alienate students. It makes the school feel unwelcoming and, ironically, less safe in their own minds. Physical measures might deter objective bad behaviors, sure, but they definitely don't stop bullying, threats, or internal psychological distress.
And that is exactly why schools are turning to the BTAM process, Behavioral Threat Assessment and Management. It's a proactive way to catch warning signs early on. But the whole thing hinges on step 1, establishing a multidisciplinary team. A really solid BTAM team can't just be law enforcement or administrators. It absolutely must include mental health professionals, like school psychologists. By analyzing academic, behavioral, and social-emotional data all together and rigorously training everyone involved, schools can accurately assess threats without, just criminalizing everyday student behavior.
Which brings us to Section 3, the restorative practices shift, a major policy pivot. So instead of jumping straight to exclusionary discipline, think zero-tolerance suspensions or expulsions, restorative justice works on a 3-tiered system. Tier 1 is prevention. That's your daily community building and relationship forming. Tier 2 is intervention. So when a disruption happens, instead of just kicking the kid out, the focus shifts to mediation, repairing the harm, and holding the student accountable while keeping them in the community. And Tier 3 is reintegration. This is all about supporting students who are returning from displacement so they don't just fall right back into old patterns. Now you might be wondering, does this actually work? Let's look at the sheer scale of the research. 2 million. A landmark study by the Learning Policy Institute tracked 2 million middle school students who were exposed to restorative practices across 485 schools. We are not talking about a tiny pilot program here. This was a massive longitudinal evaluation. And the concrete data from that? Staggering. Academically, students transitioning into middle school actually saw improved English and math test scores. From a disciplinary standpoint, the rates and the duration of suspensions dropped significantly. And behaviorally, schools saw real, measurable declines in gang membership, victimization, depressive symptoms, and substance abuse. It turns out, relational approaches tangibly improve school safety across the board. Plus, restorative practices are a huge driver for equity. While the data shows positive associations for basically all students, there are even stronger benefits for Black and Latino students. In fact, studies like the Pennsylvania Restorative Justice Collaborative documented a 16% reduction in instructional days lost to suspension. This directly narrows the racial discipline gap. In that specific study, it shrank the gap between Black and white students from 4.37 down to 3.59 days. The bottom line? It keeps kids in the classroom where they actually belong.
All right, Section 4, Social and Emotional Learning, or SEL, Building the Foundation.
I absolutely love this quote from educator Shane Saphir. Implemented well, restorative justice shifts the focus of discipline from punishment to learning and from the individual to the community. But here's the catch. Students can't resolve conflicts or mediate harm if they don't even have the emotional vocabulary to do it in the first place. That's where SEL comes in. It proactively teaches the exact skills needed for restorative mediation to actually work. KSEL, the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, lays out 5 core competencies that make all of this possible. We're talking self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. Programs like Open Circle use these exact competencies to empower students to manage their own stress, understand how their actions impact others, and resolve conflicts without ever resorting to violence. When you integrate these skills with restorative practices, it literally transforms the entire climate of a school. Finally, let's look at Section 5, an integrated safety strategy, uniting the two halves. Let's walk through this comprehensive listen, protect, connect, model, and teach methodology.
Listen, that means setting up anonymous reporting mechanisms so students can safely break the code of silence. Protect. This is using low-impact environmental design, like good lighting and interior locks instead of, intimidating checkpoints. Connect. Investing heavily in mental health staff and restorative discipline to build real relationships. And model and teach, running trauma-informed safety drills that don't terrify the kids, alongside strong SEL programs. It's a fully balanced approach. Because at the end of the day, physical hardware, it's only half the battle. A true safety strategy doesn't just aim for 0 incidents. I mean, obviously that is absolutely the goal, but it really aims for a community where students truly belong. True safety relies on human connection, it relies on trust, and a culture of mutual respect. Which leaves us with a pretty critical question to take away from this explainer today. I want you to look at your own local safety strategies and ask yourself, is your school just managing behavior, or is it actually building a community? Because the research is abundantly clear. Building a community is hands down the most powerful safety measure we have. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it sparked some curiosity and gave you a new way to look at how we protect and support our students.
Boy, whoa, what's going on there? Okay, let me turn this down. I don't know why that went up, so I know why I have to readjust the auto load. But there was some stuff. Okay, there's physical and there's mental support. The psychological support. First of all, that talked a lot about just getting together as people, just getting together. From that last part, we could learn a lot from that just in our society. Our society is broken. We're not getting along. There has been political division, but now the division is just more than political. It's gotten to the my way or the highway. And it's breaking our communities apart. And with that alone, how are kids feeling? Part of what she was saying in there is that, all the stuff that they have, locked doors, the metal detectors, even sometimes some places have guards. It's all good and well for somebody who wants to come in and shoot or come in from the outside. But what about what's going on the inside? Like bowling and stuff. And the problems also the kids just inside themselves feeling. Are they feeling secure? Feeling safe? Here it says right here. Strong relationships, mental health support, and trusted adults. That's the emotional safety. The physical safety is secure doors, controlled entry, cameras, and other hardware. That just puts on the mind that without that, they're not safe. That's where they're getting confused, because then they can walk out and they don't have any of that, but at school they do. So they worry about it. So they're talking about strong relationships, trusted adults, and mental health support. So they have to be able to trust everybody that works there. The teacher, the janitor, principal, nurse, and counselors. And can put a heavy burden on their minds and in their spirit. And it's really not good for them to have to feel that way. And, one of the things is recognize that somebody is troubled. We call them red flags when it goes to dealing with guns, and I think we need to be harsher and have more gun control. I'm sorry about the Second Amendment, but I don't think it was meant exactly for just anybody to have a gun. And there's just no safe way of locking up a gun. The insanity that's going on in this whole world, but I'm going to talk about the United States, is that people don't recognize that somebody is having maybe some kind of mental breakdown. Like a mom or a parent, they always want to think highly of their kids, and their kids don't do anything wrong. And, well, that could even go for the adults. It's just that we don't know who's going to go out and cause harm. And when it comes to children, particularly at school, trying to keep them safe, well, they can actually harm them psychologically with the mechanical stuff to keep them safe. They have to deal with bullies at school too, and that's not going to keep them safe. So they're going to get mixed attitudes about things. But guys, come on. We need to get stricter with gun control. We don't know I don't know if my neighbor next door is someday going to pull off and shoot his wife or attack me or whatever, You just never know. And we're not qualified to know. We do have people that understand psychology, but to have those people around is going to take money. And unfortunately, we have a problem providing money. Because particularly with our federal government, they want to take all our money and put it in their pockets. The GOP, the Republicans, the president. They've been tearing apart the Department of Education. And at one time talked about, let's just get rid of it. But you know what? There's one problem. The Department of Education did a lot to oversee nationally school systems. And we need to get knowledgeable people that understands one thing or another and get them together as a group and talk about these things to keep kids safe in school. Having the machinery there, locked doors, metal detectors and stuff, it's all good and well, but the emotional part, we also need people to work on the mental part. And it calls here for trusted adults. Well, okay, but I'm just not sure how to go about it. That's why we need people in our government This is what our government's for. Our government is for to help us out in situations like this. We pay taxes to go to provide solutions, not to go fill billionaire pockets up, to provide solutions for the whole nation. 3 restorative tiers. Prevention. Daily community building circles. That's where we all work together, keep our eye out on things. And people just kind of be a little noticeable of maybe something not quite right. And have the nerve to actually say something to somebody about it so it can be looked at and dealt with if it really is a true problem. Intervention. Meetings to repair harm after conflicts. I'm sure not just adult teachers and counselors and nurses and principals and stuff were all upset after shooting, but think of the kids. Wow. They look up to us to protect them. Reintegration. Support of students returning from suspension. I'm not sure what that is all about. I should have gone through this and looked that up. So there's some things that need to be looked at. Oh, behavioral threat assessment. Here's some things to look at. Transient threats. Jokes, venting, no real danger. Substantive threats. Real planning or weapon access. There's one problem there, is weapon access. A guy his son, I can't remember the school now, just got convicted for life with no parole. But his father, because his father's the one that gave him the rifle that he had, is spending 15 years in jail. So they're starting to, when children are involved in killing children at school and stuff, the parents are being charged because it's up to parents to make sure that the guns and weapons in the house, everything is safe and secure in the house. So, we've got a long ways to go, because it hasn't been that long since they were actually charging even the parents, but now they're doing that pretty regularly. But what's it going to take? It's going to take the community, all of us, working together to sort these things out, to be a part, something good to keep our children safe. I go up with my nephew. He's just turned 9. And I still go up just because it's fun to go up and we're kind of buddies. Up to the bus stop. There's other kids there too. Sometimes the parents can't show up. So I go up there just to have fun, but at the same time I'm being watchful. There's a lot of little things we can do that doesn't take any time off our hands. But we can be working together. That's what we need to start doing, is get together in this country. Start looking at things we can do as local communities to keep people safe, period. But especially our little children. So, I wish I had more paperwork on this. See, here they go. I have a section. They're talking about better drill practices. Give advance notice on this is when you're having a drill. No fake weapons or simulations. Use classroom discussions first. Make content age appropriate. Have mental health staff present to support children. And then here's a unified strategy. Listen, protect, connect. A safe school protects students without making them feel controlled. See? They got to feel like they're part of a community. You know? Listen, anonymous reporting systems so students can share concerns and safely. Protect. Use low-stress safety measures, better lighting, interior locks, instead of heavy surveillance. Connect. Lower counselor ratios and build peer support programs like teen mental health first aid. Model and teach. Use trauma-informed drills and embed SEL into daily routines. But you know, this all takes money. It all takes money, and isn't worthwhile for us to invest in our children. I'll talk to our federal government about that. They want to take money away from all this stuff. They don't care. We have a bunch of morons running this country right now, and it's dangerous, and it's getting dangerous. I could go on, but this is about helping the children feel safe and secure without being full of fear and distrust of everyone. We need to combine all our efforts together in all realms to let them know that they are going to be as safe as possible, that we're here for them. But I think the big thing is, and it just says down here, we can community building circles. Where was it here? Well, something about trusted adults and giving them a secure, where they can feel secure enough to talk to somebody about something that's bothering them or something that they may see in some other child. And don't make it feel like they're squealing on them and trying to get the other one in trouble. They need to feel secure enough to be able to come up and just plainly talk. It's going to take people knowledgeable to be that way. Sometimes it's hard for me to be that way. You know, I'm not one to be a counselor, but I'll have an open ear. And I'll listen. But I can't always give the correct answer. So guys, we need to look at this in this crazy day and age. We don't need to make our schools a fortress, like a fort or something. We can learn to also help them to be free. Some of the stuff is okay if it can be figured out to be kept as a minimum, like the cameras and all that. But they need to be able to trust us, trust their teachers, and we need counselors to help out in situations which cost money. We need to be supportive of teachers. They don't have a very good pay. You know, that's why we're supposed to be paying taxes, and that's why we have a government to help take that money and figure out a way of being able to do it. But we don't have a government that does that right now. But we can look locally too. So, yeah, we got a lot of things to do to keep our children safe and keep their minds occupied on what they're supposed to be learning and not on being distracted on is somebody going to come in and stab me or shoot me and have them worry about all that. We need to help them feel comfortable and safe and secure so they can concentrate on their studies. Anyway, so I'm done. I hope this whole thing sounded good. I'm not sure. Anyway, I am going to go. I hope you guys have a good week. And today just doesn't seem like Saturday, but it is. And I'll be back here next week at noon, next Saturday. And I think right now it's also broadcasting on my other one that I do that I've been trying to get going with Bible studies. So anyways, I'm going to go. I'm going to sign out now. And let's help our children feel safe and secure. Let them know we love them. Okay. God bless you guys, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for joining.